Hello all, GPVWC arrives in Suzuka, Japan. Following the country's recent crisis, many cars carrying messages of thought to the Japanese people, and a full grid of 24, with Concilio on pole, looks to give the fans a great show. With the opening tour completed, Miller leads from Concilio and Morris. Next up comes Lilicorpi, Rowland, Walker, Junt and Morgan. Further down the field, Wicks takes a place off Thomas. Later in the lap, Carl Smith spins off but manages to continue. Thomas is then demoted by Clark, who has to miss the chicane following a tap to the rear. Lap 3 and Rouse is next to battle Thomas, but after touching they both lose out to Perkins, who then lets his three-stopping teammate back past. Clark has caught Wicks and passes him for 12th place. Morgan spins attempting to pass Junt at the chicane, as does Perkins when closing on Rouse. After trying to pass Clark, Wicks has been caught quickly by Rouse and passes him in 130R. Liechtenstein passes Thomas, who then spins down to 18th. Lap 5, and Muscat completely misses the hairpin and hits the wall. Morgan swoops past Parker into 8th, and Rouse drops places with a spin after catching the curve. Perkins is trying hard to pass Liechtenstein, but instead runs wide and drops a place to his teammate. A lap later, the positions swap back. Lap 9, Walker must now try to defend 6th from Junt, but he doesn't succeed. He later tags Junt into a spin, and then has to allow the Red Archer back past, with Morgan in the process. Lilicorpi becomes the first big retirement of the race, and nearly takes Rowland with him to the barriers. Perkins still hasn't been able to pass the Synergetic. The Spoon he spins and is tagged by Carl Smith, who must pit early for repairs. Wicks breaks into the top 10 after passing Parker on lap 11. A lap later he passes Clark when the Williamson runs wide. The leader Miller hits pit lane after 13 laps to make it clear he's 3 stopping. The 2 stopping Concilio and Morris carry on into first and second, separated by just 2 seconds. The midfield battle is hotting up between Wicks, Clark, Parker and Lichtenstein. Clark eventually tries around the outside, but is buffed off. He recatches Wicks, who tries hard defending, but Clark makes it through a spoon, as does Parker on Lichtenstein. Later, and Wicks has a go at Clark in the chicane before the Williamson pits. Wicks pits a lap later and leapfrogs him, as does Parker. Lap 17, Concilio pits from the lead, handing it over to Morris, and he emerges ahead of Miller. Rowland takes 5th from Walker. A spin for Clark drops him further off the top 10. Parker is up to 9th and Wicks runs wide of Degner, and Morgan moves into 7th after passing Stanton. Staying out until lap 20 helps Morris into position to fight Concilio for the lead in turn 1 and hold it. The leading trio are nose to tail: Morris, Concilio, Miller. But even by the end of the lap it's all change and Miller leads. There are other close battles throughout the field: Clark, Rouse and Lichtenstein, and Morgan, Stanton, Parker. However, that fight breaks up after Parker hits Stanton and is awarded a drive-through penalty, but he retires instead. Concilio is close to Morris and considering making a move. On a lap 25, sprints past into 2nd. Miller had built a 3-second lead, but pits on lap 26 and drops to a now distant 3rd, leaving the victory fight between Concilio and Morris. Rouse tries to get ahead of Lichtenstein, but doesn't have the straight line speed to do so. Wicks is easy meat for Carl Smith. Lap 30, Lichtenstein takes 10th from Clark before he retakes it at the chicane, but the next lap sees a big crash with the Williamson driver. Morgan speeds in the pit lane and earns a penalty that drops him to 13th. Lap 35, Concilio makes his final stop and Morris receives the lead. Stanton battles Morgan and the pair trade places often. Morris has left it as late as lap 41 for his final stop, and he's done enough to emerge in the lead with 12 laps to go. Stanton passes Morgan, whose effort to retake the place sees him outbrake himself. This is followed a lap later with a spin after touching the back of the constant. Lap 44, and Concilio passes Morris for the lead, but the Drake comes straight back at him with a daring pass at the chicane. Whilst the leaders dice, Carl Smith has caught Walker in sick. He manages to make his way past the dray, but as Walker tries to fight back, he loses control and crashes out heavily. With 7 laps to go, Concilio's pressure pays off and Morris runs wide enough to have to give over the lead. But with true grit, he's soon back on the Norwegian's tail and fighting for the win. All eyes are on the epic battle as the race enters the final 5 laps. Morris keeps having looks, and the pair come close to touching countless times. Morris tries another attempt at the hairpin, but can't quite grab the lead. A lap later, and he tries yet again, but this time runs too deep, and Concilio swoops back under him. With just 2 laps to go, Concilio still holds the smallest of leads, and Morris is doing all he can to try and wrestle it from the Norwegian. An attempt at the chicane sees him run too wide again. This is going to come down to the final lap. So into the hairpin for the last time. Morris dives and this time holds it in to take the lead off Concilio with half a lap left. Concilio tries a last effort to retake him at the chicane, but can't quite make it work around the outside, and so Morris will cross the line to win at Suzuka after an incredible battle. It's his 3rd straight win to start the season with, and already gives him a large 21-point lead.